It's late. It's like 11:30 right now. I just want to record this and I'll edit it tomorrow. So if I had to summarize the ending of Lord of Shadows in GIFs, it would be the following. Greetings and salutations, Eddie here. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm bringing a book review. Very discombobulated, unprepared book review of Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare, Book 2 of the Dark Artifices trilogy. So before I get into the plot of Lord of Shadows, I want to do a small recap of Lady Midnight, which is over here. And I do want to talk about two major plot points of Lady Midnight. So if you haven't read Lady Midnight, skedaddle. First thing that I do want to talk about is through all the evidence, through all the crime scenes, and a cave that the Blackthorns explore, Ty and Livy eventually piece the clues together, and they discover that it's passages from the Annabelle Lee poem by Edgar Allan Poe. And they're investigating the Guardian, which is kind of like the main villain of Lady Midnight. And so he has a ritual going on, and his goal is to resurrect someone. And the Blackthorn family connects the ritual to an old Shadowhunter tale called Lady Midnight. And in the story, a woman is killed by her parents, and her lover made a deal with the Fairy King to conduct a ritual which required Blackthorn blood and the Black Volume of the Dead. That part I'm reading from Wikipedia. And so through all their research and whatever, the Blackthorns research their family, and they find out that Lady Midnight is based on the story of Annabelle Blackthorn, who was a Shadowhunter that fell in love with a warlock. And through all the clues and through all the investigations and the evidence, it turns out that Malcolm Fade, the warlock from Lady Midnight, is the Guardian. And his goal was to resurrect his lover, Annabelle. But he also had to have Blackthorn blood to do it. So he tricked Drew into giving him Tabby, and he was this close to awakening Annabelle until the Blackthorn family with Emma and Kieran, they all come in and they take down Malcolm, basically. And it also ends with the epilogue that Annabelle Blackthorn opens her eyes. And then the second part that I do want to talk about is the lost Herondale descendant. That was Johnny Rook's son, Kit. So we get introduced to Johnny Rook and Kit, who is his son. And we really don't know Kit that much. So Johnny Rook had protection from Malcolm Fade. Since Malcolm Fade died, Johnny Rook was killed by demons, leaving Kit alone. And Kit is eventually rescued by Tessa and, I almost said Clary, and Jem. And they tell him that he is the descendant of the Herondale family, making him not Kit Rook, but Kit Herondale. Much to his dismay, they take him to the Los Angeles Institute to start training. And another point that I want to talk about before I get into Lord of Shadows is Emma and Julian. Since they're parabatai, they're kind of going against the rules. But reading the last sentence of Wikipedia, approaching Jem, Emma is told that parabatai who are in love with each other have strengthened runes, but they will also bring misery to everyone around them. Therefore, she breaks up with Julian and pretends to date Mark, which causes tension between the whole Blackthorn family. With Lord of Shadows, we pick up exactly where Lady Midnight left off. We're dealing with like this intense political aspect of it as well. We get introduced to a new storyline called the Cohort, which is a group of Shadowhunters whose goal is to restrict Downworlder rights. And so we have that political aspect going on. We have the cold piece going on. It's just not a pretty thing right now. And so on top of that, we also have the possible rising of Annabelle Blackthorn, the Wild Hunt coming in, and all types of jazz. So as you guys know, I got this book and Queen of Air and Darkness, which is over there, you can barely see it, in 2020 as part of my big book haul. And I was really excited to get into the trilogy, even though the books are kind of intimidating. I said, you know what, let me just get back into the world of Shadowhunters. I read Lady Midnight at the beginning of January, finished it in January, and I really enjoyed it. Then I read this one. On Goodreads, it says that I started it on January 22nd. I just forgot to add it to my currently reading list. So I started it maybe last week. I finished it today. It's January 23rd. This book was amazing. 5 out of 5 stars. It was just so good. This is probably by far Cassandra Clare's best work since Clockwork Princess. In my opinion, it was just so good, you guys. I just love this story. And I also really love everything that expands on Lady Midnight. One of the aspects that I love about this book is that we explore more character backgrounds, specifically Diana. So Diana is, in the first book, I found her kind of cold and distant, but for good reason. When you read her backstory in this book, you sort of have a heart for her. And I definitely had a heart for her, and I loved her so much. I think she was a really compelling character in this book. This time around, I think she definitely had more of a story. And I just really love how honest she is about herself, and not just like a typical cold mentor or leader or whatever she was. And I also really liked Ty and Kit's friendship. I think it's going to turn into more than a friendship, if I'm to be honest. I think that Kit definitely has that his Jace Herondale, Will Herondale, sarcastic tone to him, which I think is really fun to read because the Herondale family are just cocky sons of bitches. At first, I was not liking Kit at all, but then as the book went on and his character development really came through, I was like, okay, I'm on board. And I had to be on board for Kit and Ty because, well, mostly Kit, because the next Shadowhunter series that's planned is The Wicked Powers, which is centering on Kit and Ty. So I have to really give a shit about Kit, and I did by the end of this book. I really think he was a really great character. I think his character development was really well written. And then to all the Emma and Julian shippers, I get it now. I wasn't getting it at first because I just didn't really like them together in the first book, but in this one, I get it now. I absolutely get it. And I loved it. I was just really uncomfortable with the storyline of Emma pretending to date Mark, because I just don't like that storyline at all. But I understand why she had to do it, but I just didn't like it. Also the settings, you know, just, I don't want to give too much away, but we also traveled to the London Institute, which was just amazing because I love the London Institute. I still prefer the Los Angeles Institute, but I love the London Institute. I just think it was so fun to read about. And also, minor spoiler, we do get to see some Mortal Instruments characters. Jace, Clary, I almost said Malik, Magnus, Alec, Robert Lightwood. I loved reading about them too. I loved seeing them come back, and just, I loved it. And also there's a specific scene that I really love. It was a scene between Jace and Kit. Jace telling Kit about his family and his duty of a Shadowhunter and whatever. And I just thought that was a very grown-up thing of Jace to do. Because Jace could have been like, okay, if you want to run away, go ahead and run away. Because Jace matured since City of Heavenly Fire. And it was like a 5-year jump from City of Heavenly Fire to now. You could definitely tell in those 5 years, he definitely grew up. I mean, he still has his sarcastic attitude, but he definitely grew up as a character. And then another storyline is the Annabelle Blackthorn storyline. I think this is a really creepy storyline, but also kind of bittersweet as well. Never trust anybody named Annabelle. Don't trust it all. Don't trust a Shadowhunter. Just saying. Finally get, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but the ending literally gutted me. And when I say gutted me, I mean like a fish. It hurt so much. Now I just want to finish the trilogy. Here's this bad boy right here. Here it is. I may just do, after I read this, I may just do a trilogy overview as a whole. Because I don't want to dive back into Lord of Shadows and relive what happened at the end, because I don't want to be emo. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Had I not read Lord of Shadows, I would have given up on Cassandra Clare, because it's because she has so many books out that I have not read yet. I mean, aside from Lady Midnight, I had at the time when I was thinking about this, I had Lord of Shadows to read, Queen of Air Darkness to read, Chain of Gold to read, Tales of Shadowhunter Academy to read, the rest of the Ghost of Shadow Market to read, the Eldest Curses trilogy, and aside from Shadowhunters, she has the Magisterium series with Holly Black, and then she has a new adult fantasy book coming out in 2022, I think, or maybe it's this year, called Swordcatcher. So I'm like, I don't know if I can stick around for all that long, but I will see. But I'm glad that I read Lord of Shadows, because I just fell back in love with Cassandra Clare, and I'm so happy that I stuck around. So like I said, 5 out of 5 for Lord of Shadows. Is this my favorite Cassandra Clare series? No. Now it's battling between Mortal Instruments and Dark Artifices. If I'm ranking them, Infernal Devices is still at the top for me, but Dark Artifices and Mortal Instruments are still together. I think what I love about this trilogy so much is that it has the political aspect of the Mortal Instruments that I loved. I think the political aspects of the Mortal Instruments was very interesting to me, and that's one of the reasons why I kept reading as well. And so we have it more now in Dark Artifices, and I'm so happy about it. 5 out of 5. I'm so happy that I'm halfway through this trilogy. Cannot wait to see what Queen of Air and Darkness has in store. If you guys like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and comment down below your thoughts of this book and which of the two, Lady Midnight or Lord of Shadows, is your favorite. Definitely Lord of Shadows is my favorite, because even from the first 3 chapters, I loved it way. I was enjoying it way more already than Lady Midnight. So for more content, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see everyone soon in my next video. Deuces.